Okay, good evening. Welcome to our Humble ISD Parent U tonight. This is a Zoom webinar and it differs from a typical Zoom meeting. Participants will be able to see and hear the host, but their microphone and camera will not be viewable to the host nor the audience. There will be a virtual Q&A, so throughout the presentation, feel free to go and ask questions during the chat. This session is being recorded for future public viewing, and the presentation and accompanying materials will be posted on the Advanced Academics webpage. Okay, here are some reminders before we get started. No participants' video or audio will be recorded, but questions asked during the Q&A will not be private. Please do not include any private information, including student names, in the Q&A. Questions will be answered privately or answered to the whole group, either by the host or another Q&A moderator. Questions may be asked by utilizing the Q&A feature. You may find this on the Zoom control bar. Okay, so our topic for tonight is mental health awareness. I'm Tiffany James. I'm one of the behavior specialists in the Counseling and Behavioral Department, Counseling and Behavioral Services. I'm going to introduce Francesca Newman. She is one of our student wellness counselors. Tiffany Simon, another student wellness counselor. Tammy Johnson, one of the student wellness counselors. And Jeffrey Thomas is a behavior specialist for the district as well. I also want to introduce our amazing director, Ty Hobbs. Ty, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, so these are our learning outcomes for tonight. We're going to discuss commonly held misconceptions about mental health. We're going to answer what is mental health and what can affect mental health and well-being. We're going to discuss what signs should you look for when concerned about an individual's mental health. And we're going to discuss what protects, promotes, and supports mental health. We'll also be providing a list of resources to help support any mental health and well-being. Okay, so I hope you're ready. We're going to take a quiz just to see what your ideas are on mental health and clear up some of the misconceptions. So I'm going to read the questions because we might have some participants joining us by phone. So the first question is, or the first statement is, only certain kinds of people develop mental health problems. Is that true or false? So the answer is anybody, false. Anybody can develop mental health problems. The next statement is, there are many different types of mental health problems. And the answer is true. There are many different types of mental health problems. The next statement is, most people who have mental health problems end up in a hospital. Most people who have mental health problems end up in a hospital. The answer is false. Very few people have to be hospitalized. Next, if you think you have a mental health problem, you should talk to someone about it. The answer is true. You should talk to someone you trust and someone who can help guide you to get the help that you need. Next, people are born with mental health problems. The answer is false. That sometimes mental health problems can run in families, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to have mental health problems. Next, you can tell someone has a mental health problem by looking at them. The answer is false. You cannot look at someone and tell that they have a mental health problem. Next, you cannot recover from mental health problems. False, you can recover, and most people do recover from mental health problems. And the last statement is people with mental health problems are likely to be violent. And that answer is also false. Okay, so these are just going over the answers again that we discussed. I hope you learned something new with that quiz. Okay, so what is mental health?
Good evening, everyone. What is mental health? Mental health is defined as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. How do we categorize mental health? Well, 1 in 10 young people will experience mental health problem. 3 out of 4 of mental health problems are onset by the age of 20. 4 times students with a learning disability, 4 times more likely to experience a mental health problem. Social media, self-diagnosing in social media can lead to exaggerating or normalizing symptoms to overlook or cause these symptoms. What affects mental health? Poverty, bereavement, imprisonment, divorce, separation, bullying, long-term illnesses, physical abuse, sexual abuse, peer pressure, school pressures, carrying responsibilities, and addiction. See something, say something. Withdrawn lack of interest in hobbies and sports, family and friends, school performance, absence, low grades, high grades, skipping sports practices or club meetings, change in behavior, aggressive, quiet, loud, little eye contact, appearance, eating more or eating less, lack of energy, physical pains, physical inactivity, and sleeping more or less.
So as JT mentioned, if we see something, we want to say something. We want to make sure our students and our children know that we're recognizing these things. Sometimes they can be subtle or they can be things just out of the norm. That's why we included such an exhaustive list. So some suicide warning signs that we want to go over is we follow, is path warm? Do they have an ideation, thoughts of suicide? Is there any substance use, increased or excessive alcohol or drug use? Or is it something they've just begun doing? Do they have a sense of purposelessness, right? They don't see a sense for living. They may say things like, I don't know that I'm going to make it through this. I don't know what I'm here for. I don't have a purpose. They may have some anxiety, that anxiousness, that agitation. We can see their anxiety kind of amping up throughout the week or the months where they're feeling that more anxious, and maybe they're waking up at night, having nightmares. Even feelings of being trapped, right? They feel like they can't escape a situation, a relationship, a class. Those feelings of there's no way out of this. I can't get out of this emotion or how I'm feeling or this situation. And then hopelessness, right? Are they feeling hopeless about themselves, about others, or the future? Then we look at withdrawal. Are they isolating themselves from friends, family, their usual activities, and society? You know, maybe they loved crocheting and now they haven't crocheted in weeks, or they loved basketball and they don't want to go out and practice. They are not interested in going to a Rockets game. We also want to look at their feelings of anger, right? Is it uncontrolled? Are they seeking revenge? Are they feeling that anger in their body, feeling rageful? Some recklessness is also another warning sign. Are they acting without regard for consequences? They don't care what happens, or they're not thinking about what's going to happen. And have they had any mood changes? Is it a big change in mood? We know that teenagers can be moody, right? That's part of growing up. That's part of their brain development. And so just thinking about the mood changes they're going through, and if it goes with these other things, we're all going to have mood changes. Adults have mood changes, teenagers, and even our younger children have mood changes. But when it adds up with recklessness, anger, withdrawal, hopelessness, they're having anxiety, when we're seeing a lot of these things together, then we want to make sure that we are looking at these warning signs and talking with our kids. We want to see something. We want to say something. So mood changes is one of those things. If it's an extreme, then we want to talk about it, right? We want to talk to them about that. And we just want to look at those warning signs. Is the path warm? So if it is warm, what do we do, right? Our child or our student is struggling. They're telling you they feel hopeless. They're telling you they don't want to be here anymore. They just want to go to sleep. They may even tell you their plans, what they're going to do. And so if they have that outcry at school or at home or any other community area that they're with other adults or even their friends, and their friends are telling their parents what's happening, we want to make sure that we follow ACE. We're going to ask, we're going to care, and we're going to escort. So if a child is showing signs of suicidal ideation, right, is the path warm? So they're isolated. They've been in their room for days. Now they're telling you they don't want to live anymore. They're feeling hopeless. They can't get out. We want to ask them if they're asking about suicide. Are you thinking about killing yourself? We want to actively listen. We want to acknowledge what they're saying as well as their behavior and their feelings. We're not going to debate if it's right or wrong, right? We're asking, do you want to do this? And it's a yes or a no. I don't know, right? They may have different answers for you. And that is not the time to say, hey, that's not right. This is not what this religion believes, or that's not what this family believes. When they are having these outcries and they're making these statements, we just want to listen and acknowledge what they're saying. We don't want to discuss whether it's good or bad. These are bad thoughts. We shouldn't say these things. We're going to leave that out, and we are just going to acknowledge you feel hopeless. You feel like you don't want to be here anymore, right? We're repeating it back to them, what they're saying to us, so that they can feel heard. And we don't want to lecture them about how they should feel, right? Sometimes we are in situations and we're like, you have, a car, and you have a job, and you have a partner, and you are top 10% of your class. How can you feel this way? But it's not us to judge. We're there to listen. We want to ask, and we want to make sure they know that we're there so that we can help them. And we want to make sure we care, right? We want to listen, and we really want to listen. We want to put the phones away. We want to stop cooking. A lot of times some of our kids will say it at those inconvenient times, right? That's the time they want to talk, is when you're driving, when you're making dinner, when you're grocery shopping. They say something. And so that's your time you put everything away and you listen and you give them that eye contact, and you're there and present with them. And then you want to talk about, those issues and troubles. Hey, what's going on? What are you feeling? Why are you feeling this way? We don't want to encourage them, right? Like, oh, you won't do it. Or anything like that. We want them to know that we care and we value them in their life. We don't want to act shocked, right? That's something they tell us, and we may feel those shocked feelings, and it can be very hard to hear as a parent or teacher or provider. And we want to take that in, and we can deal with that shock after we know that our student or child is safe. We don't want to try to rush it to fix or cheer them up. Oh, you're feeling down right now. You don't want to be here, but okay, so we'll just leave and go get ice cream sundae, right? We don't want to fix it. We don't want to try to cheer them up. Oh, let's think about this joke or something like that. We just want to listen to what's happening with them in that moment. This is the first time you're hearing it, so it's a shock for you. But for some of these children, this is something they've been living with for days, weeks, months. And so it's not something that they need fixed or cheered up in that exact moment. We just want to make sure we're there for them to help them get through this time so that their suicide is not a continual thought. We also don't want to judge or minimize their feelings, right? Oh, no, you're not feeling that way, or saying things like, oh, you feel that way, really? We really want to notice our tone of voice and our body language and show them we care by being present and open. Our faces can say a lot. For me, my face doesn't lie most of the time. And so those facial cues, we want to make sure that we are there listening to them and there for them and not passing judgment through crossed arms. We want to have an open stature and listening and talking to them. And then the last part of ACE is that we want to escort. So a child has told you they want to kill themselves. We've listened, and now we want to do something, right? We need to tell someone. In the school setting, we're telling the school counselor. At home, we're telling a partner. We're telling someone that can help us in this moment to take them to a mental health hospital, a medical or emergency room, or an assessment center. If that's not somewhere they can go, or you don't feel comfortable taking them in a car by yourself, we want to call 911 and let them know that we're having a mental health crisis. Many of our police departments in the area, Houston, Harris County, and Montgomery, all have mental health units that will come out and help with mental health issues. So we want to make sure that we're getting our children the care that they need. So we want to make sure we tell somebody, and we want to do it right away, right? Not, oh, okay, you're feeling this way, I have to turn off dinner. I have to, finish up this email. We want to do it right then in the moment. We've listened, we've shown we've cared, and now we're going to do something about it. We don't want to leave them alone, no matter what they say. And we don't want to keep secrets. Sometimes a child might tell you, oh, don't tell anybody I feel this way. Don't tell anybody I told you that. Or, oh, I'll be okay. I'm just going to go to my room for a few minutes and wait while you call. Or I'm going to go to the bathroom while you are talking to my parent or guardian. And so in that moment, we don't want to leave them alone. That's a nope, we're coming together. Or there's another adult in the house. They're going to sit with you while I'm making these conversations happen. So we want to make sure that we're asking, we're caring, and we're escorting our children somewhere to keep them safe.
Here are some common myths about suicide. The first one is asking someone about suicide will increase the risk of suicide. And actually, it has been shown that asking someone about suicide lowers anxiety, it opens up communication, and actually lowers the risk of a suicide attempt. The next myth is only experts can stop a suicide. The truth is anyone can decrease the chance of a suicide. All you need to do is listen attentively, show the person that you genuinely care, and provide hope. The next myth is suicidal people don't talk about it. The truth is most suicidal people have given some sort of clue or communicated an intent prior to the attempt. It often looks like people saying final goodbyes, calling someone just to say, I just wanted to say I love you, which that doesn't necessarily mean that, but that is often a sign. Giving items away, not making future plans. Those are some of the unspoken things that happen when people are contemplating suicide. Another myth is people who attempt suicide are at the lowest risk for a reattempt shortly after an attempt. And actually within the first 3 months to a year following an attempt, people are at the highest risk of a second attempt. And this time often is when they are succeeding. It's usually not the first time. The first time sometimes is just a trial run when they're just planning it out. And then the second or subsequent attempts is when they're actually successful.
In Humble ISD, we have several different ways that we are here to help support our students as well as our community. Some of those supports include our school counselors. So each campus has school counselors who are available and who have received a training on how to work and help students with suicide. We have student support or at-risk counselors. We have our student wellness counselors. We have, and this is one of the new initiatives that we have with our student advisory committee. They've put together mental health initiatives as well to help combat some of the myths and some of the ways that we can be proactive in helping to spread awareness. Parent U, which you're part of right now. We have I Help, which is our anonymous tip line. So we have parents, students, staff. This is a way that individuals can help report in the event that they are aware that someone may be in need or may be in crisis. We have mental health officers. We have a mental health fair that is coming in the spring. We have our student health advisory committee and our behavior specialist. So the support that we have here in Humble ISD is available to both students, parents, and staff members. In addition to the supports that we have within Humble ISD, there are also additional resources that are available for us. So some of these resources include the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness. This is NAMI. They have support groups in church. They do special causes and walks to help promote awareness, to help promote, as was said with earlier speakers, giving that hope in ways that individuals can help find help in the event that they are having these moments where they're feeling hopeless. They're trying to reach out to find out what are some ways that they can help build some of that resiliency or coping skills, or having someone who's available there to listen and to be supportive as they're going through different obstacles. In addition, our school counselors. There are also LPCs, which are licensed professional counselors, LMFTs, which are licensed marriage and family therapists. These individuals work generally in private practice or in different facilities like Kingwood Pines Hospital or Intracare to help work with students and their families. So this isn't just help just for students, but also help for families, because parents also want to know, how can I help in the event that my child has an outcry? How can I help if I know of a child in the community? What's available so that in the event that I'm faced with something like this, I have some items in my toolbox is what I call it. So you have items in your toolbox that are available in the event that you have someone, a family member, a child, yourself, or a spouse. There's someone that's going through a mental health crisis and they need help and support. You can also contact your primary care doctor. So your doctor will also have information that's available, help you with resources in case you do need to be referred to an LPC or an LMFT or even a hospital like Kingwood Pines or Intracare. So your primary care doctor also has training on what to do in the event that there is a crisis. There's Mental Health America, the Houston Galveston Institute, Texas Children's, and the Harris Center. We've also have some links and some telephone numbers to help. So as I'm telling you all of these different types of resources that are available, we have some ways that you can get in contact with these individuals. Please remember that this is being recorded, so you can always have access to this. And the PowerPoint is going to be available as through the Parent U portal. That way you'll have the live links. So you don't have to remember. If you want to go ahead, I think it's always a great idea to take a picture, because I may not always have access to the website, but I always have my phone. So it's one of the suggestions that I would give is to take a picture of this resource list with your phone. That way you have it someplace that's quick and accessible in the event that you need it. So one of the resources that we have listed here at the top is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. This one is one that you can call or you can text. This is one that whether you want to call because you need some help or some information, or if there's a child who's in crisis, Maybe they don't want to talk to you. Maybe they're not at that point. And we know right now, a lot of our students and our children, texting is one of the ways that they communicate. Sometimes they feel so much more comfortable by being able to use the texting characters on their phone versus actually being able to verbalize. And so these resources are available for both. So you have the telephone number here for the National Suicide Prevention Line, as well as to start the text, you would put in the number 741-741 and then text start. And then you'll be connected with a mental health professional that can help you along the way there. In addition, we have things that are local within our area, like the Houston Crisis Intervention Line. So you have the hotline, and this is available for adults, for children, but they have one specifically for teens. So there's a number that they can call, and these are individuals who are trained in working with young adults, adolescents. But then once again, that text number is also available. The next resource is the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team. And so this is one that is sponsored by the Harris Center. So once again, this is a local resource because this is part of the Harris County. So a local resource that's available. There's a telephone number here that you can call, as well as a website. And after I go through all of these, I'm actually going to ask Fran if she can click just so you can kind of see what they have available. So the Harris Center, on here, there's a brochure and it gives you more information about their team, but they will come out. So in the event that there's an active crisis and you're not able to get the person to leave with you to go someplace for hospitalization and you don't necessarily know what to do and you need someone to come out to you to help, this is one of those places that you can reach out to, which is the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team. In addition, there's the LGBT Suicide Switchboard. There's a telephone number here, and they also have the link here for the Montrose Center. So once again, we have the national number at the top, but then we have our local numbers that are available as well. One of the reasons that we highlight the LGBTQ plus suicide switchboard is because we do see that sometimes those numbers can tend to be a little higher as students and children are navigating what that looks like. So we want to make sure that they also understand that we do have some resources that are LGBTQ friendly as well. All right, so Fran is now taking us to the Harris Center PDF. This is a brochure. Like I said, this is a live link. So once you go into Parent U and you go into the portal and you click on the website, on the PowerPoint, you will have access to this link. And this takes you to the Harris Center. So this lets you know that they have the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team. They give you additional telephone numbers and resources that you can use. And they go into more details about the services that they provide. How are you doing? So this lets you know who is eligible for the services. So on the second page, you can see the eligibility, who they are and what services are available. So all residents of Harris County can voluntarily accept these services. They're eligible for that. The services that they provide, they have crisis intervention, psychiatric assessment, brief therapy. And so if you're trying to figure out what do we do next and we need some type of assessment, remember that those residents of Harris County, they are able to use this service. So there's the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team. This is the website to the Montrose Center. And so this gives a little more information about the types of services that they provide. As I said before, it's the LGBT switchboard, and they work with students who are on the LGBT spectrum, who may be experiencing depression, suicide, or crisis intervention. They also have shelters, different information, also related to other mental health. But since today our focus is related to on here, these services, we have those on there too regarding what to do in the event that you are faced with someone who's in crisis. Now, all of the resources, one of the things that is really great for us is to research and learn about them. So we've given you some information today. You have some information that you can look on later, the resources that we provided. By us having this information before we're confronted with a crisis, it helps in that situation because you know there's some place you can go. What we'd like you to do is also to share this and what you've learned with others. So today you've got some resources, you have it in your toolbox. So share this with other parents that may be in your groups. Share this with your child. So in the event that they need to know, if they have another loved one, they already know that I know that there's someplace I can call, there's some help that I can receive. I don't have to do this alone. And if we already have this before we're faced with it, it really helps if we are ever faced with someone who needs that type of help. If you notice someone, connect with them, say hello. As Fran mentioned before, talking and listening, reaching out. Tammy also mentioned that oftentimes there are things that are said before a student or a child has a suicide attempt. When we just stop and pause and pay attention to what's going on around us and having that moment, like Fran said, we're going to put dinner aside and it's going to wait for a moment. I'm going to put my phone down. Let me connect with you and see, what's going on, and just say hello and just being there and just listening. We also want to model, show others how to handle stress, conflict, and promote mental health. So when we're faced with certain obstacles, our children are watching. They're looking to see, how do we react when we have a tough day, when we have a rough day? What are words that we use? How do we react when we're faced with stressors? So we can show that, we're all going to have stress. There's going to be times where we have obstacles, and sometimes our initial reaction may be to have anger or have sadness, but that's something that can be temporary because feelings can change. And these are some of the ways that I do that. I go for a walk, or I sit and I connect with a loved one. Maybe I read a book, or I reach out for help. It could be that, hey, today was a tough day, so I know that I needed to reach out to help from a friend, a family member, or even a mental health professional. And so the more that we're able to promote ways to have a healthy mental mindset, that's something that we're helping to instill that in our children and others who are watching us. Now, of all of the resources, this is by far one of my favorites. So this is it's the gatekeeper. So earlier on, one of the things that was mentioned is that we don't have to have specific mental health training in order to help prevent a suicide. In this particular training here, it is CPR is what it's geared for. It's CPR for suicide. So what it does is it tells you, in the event that you are faced with someone who may be having suicide ideations, here are some ways that you can help in the moment without having specific mental health training. One of the things that it mentions is if we can just put a barrier in between that plan. So Fran mentioned they may have a plan. They may know how they want to carry this out. They may say, I thought about it and there's some pills that I'm going to take and that's how I'm going to do this. If there's any kind of way that we can put a barrier in between the person who's having these ideations and those pills, then we've helped to decrease the amount of the access that may give us some time to get someone to come in to help us, so that we can get the person stabilized. If they said that I'm going to use my father or my parents' gun, if there's any way we can keep them away from that. So one of the things that this is really great about is helping us to know what questions we can ask and ways that we can help put some time in between what that looks like if they are in an active crisis situation before something takes place. If you click on the link, it does ask you for a school ID number, but you don't have to. You can register and you can take the course without being a school district employee. There is an option for you to do it as a guest. It only takes about an hour. And Alex, I've been through several trainings, and this by far to me is one of the best ones that I've seen. It is geared towards school district employees, but it's also really great just for anyone to be able to see, because it really, to me, fills your toolbox on what I can do if I don't know anything about mental health. What can I do if I don't know anything about how to help someone who's in crisis? So it gives you some really good step-by-step and just a couple of things. So like we used ACE, they use ASK, but very similar. Great thing for you. And once again, as I said before, as we talked about sharing with others, anyone that you or that's in your parent group or even your children. This is something that they'd be able to watch, and it's free. There's no charge. Like I said, it only takes about an hour for you to complete this.